My name is Mimi from Mimi's Organic Eats, and today I'm going to talk about pie pans. Pie season is coming up, so you may be wondering, what are the best pie pans for baking? And as someone who owned a bakery for over a decade and has baked hundreds of thousands of pies, I can confidently give you guys the rundown on what kind of pie pans you want to stock your kitchen with for this fall baking season. So let's jump right into it. My number one pick is going to be a cast iron pie pan. This is a Lodge cast iron pie pan. It's my favorite pie pan. It's the one I use all the time. And the reason for that is because cast iron is really good at retaining heat. So if you like buttery, crispy, flaky crust, this pie pan is gonna give it to you. Because it's cast iron, it's also pretty good at being non-stick on its own. And so that's another benefit of this pan. One of the downfalls of this pan is you do have to hand wash it, so it's not dishwasher safe. This pan is pretty inexpensive. I think it's only like $22 or something, which is a very, very minimal investment in order to get a really, really good pie pan. So my second choice is my 360 cookware stainless steel pie pan. And now this one is massive. It's like a 12-inch pie pan. It's so big. So this is like if you're having a huge gathering, you need a big pie pan, this is the one that you use. Stainless steel is similar to cast iron in that it retains heat really well, and it's going to bake up a really buttery, flaky crust. And so that's a huge benefit of this pie pan. One of the downfalls is that this one is really expensive. So if you're on a budget, you can still bake a perfect pie without spending this much. One of the other benefits of stainless steel is that it's refrigerator safe. So if you're making a pie that needs to go in the refrigerator for any reason, you can store it in this pan. So that's something that you can't do with cast iron. So that's a benefit of the stainless steel. This is also dishwasher safe. So if you're lazy and you want to throw it in the dishwasher, you can do that with this pan. Both cast iron and stainless steel pans are gonna be sustainable pie pan options. These will basically last forever. You won't have to replace them. So think about that when you're investing in a pie pan, because these you'll just have for years and years and years. So my third choice is going to be the aluminum pie pan, and this is my USA pie pan, and I love this pie pan. I've had it for a while, as you can see, but aluminum is a great choice if you're on a budget. This is gonna be, I think, the least expensive pie pan that I have, and it's one that works really, really well, especially for how much money it was. So this is gonna be similar to cast iron and stainless steel, as that it will bake up a really good buttery and flaky crust, and it will prevent your pies from having a soggy bottom. So all three of these pie pans that I just talked about, the cast iron, the stainless steel, and the aluminum, they're all gonna prevent your pie crust from having a soggy bottom. So if you're baking an all butter pie crust, which is, I mean, what other kind is there? Okay, kidding, there's other kinds, but if you're baking an all butter pie crust and you want that buttery, flaky, almost crispy crust, you wanna use one of these three pie pans. These are gonna be your best options, especially if you are baking above sea level. And I can't stress this enough, as a high altitude baker myself, I have tons of experience in this department. And so one of the downfalls of baking pies at high altitude is that your crust can become soggy on the bottom. So using stainless steel, aluminum, or cast iron is going to prevent that from happening. I only bake in these three pie pans. While I have tons of other pie pans, these are the only three that I ever bake a pie in. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, but these are my top three pie pans. And you're probably like, well, I've seen pies on your website with really cute pie pans and like pretty white ones and stuff. Well, guess what? I never bake the actual pie in there. I just use it for the photos. So that is a tip for you guys. If you want to serve something in another pie pan, you can totally do that, but bake it in a cast iron, an aluminum, or a stainless steel. These are going to be your best options for the best buttery, flaky crust. Now, if you're making like a no-bake pie or like a graham cracker crust, where the graham cracker crust is only in the oven for a few minutes, then feel free to use any pie pan, but I'm talking about real butter pie crust, and that's where your pie pan really makes all the difference. So my last pie pan that I'm going to talk about today is my ceramic pie pan, and you probably see this on my website all the time because this is one of my favorite ones because I love the way it looks, but I never bake pie in this. Never, ever, ever. I mean, I have before and my pies always suffer, so I never bake them in this anymore. But ceramic is an okay option. It's definitely not my favorite. It can hold up okay in the oven, but it's not going to give you the most buttery and flaky and browned crust. And like, that is my favorite part of pie, is the buttery, flaky crust and the texture. And this is gonna make it less than ideal, especially on the bottom of the pan. So I like to save this for if I'm making like a sweet cream pie or any sort of like no-bake pie. You could totally do in this ceramic pie pan and it would be no problem at all. But I would not recommend using this for baking like your classic apple pie or pumpkin pie or anything with that buttery, flaky crust. But there are some other advantages to ceramic pie dishes. Obviously, the way that they look is one of them. But like I said, I bake my pies in other pie pans, and because they bake so well in the other pie pans, I can lift them right up and just plop them right in here. So if I want to shoot something in this pie pan, I actually bake it in my USA aluminum pie pan because the size is exactly identical. And so this one fits perfectly if I just lift the pie up and I place it right in here for shooting photos. And so you guys could do that too. You could bake something in a stainless steel pie pan and serve it in like your pretty Anthropologie pie pan if you want. But like all those ones from Anthro that are like so cute this time of year, they're not great for baking because they're ceramic. But glass is gonna be very similar to ceramic in the way that it cooks and heats. And so it's not gonna be ideal for baking like your all butter pie crust or like your traditional apple pie. So glass and ceramic are, you know, they're okay. I definitely wouldn't recommend if you're at high altitude. It might be a little bit better at sea level, but they are dishwasher safe. So you can throw them in the dishwasher. They're refrigerator safe. So if you have a refrigerated pie, that's a great option to bake, or not bake, but make, because it would probably be a no-bake pie. Make in one of these pie pans if you want, but save these for displaying, serving, that sort of thing. And the last kind of pie pan I will talk about today is the disposable aluminum pie pan. And I actually don't have one, but I do use them sometimes. And it's what I used at my bakery for over a decade, obviously, because you have to take it to go. When I first opened my bakery and we sold pies, we actually had like stacks and stacks and stacks of pie dishes, like real pie dishes that we would give out with people's pies, and we would fill out basically like a rental form, and people would have to bring the pie dish back because we were so eco-friendly. And it was part of our brand, and I really wanted that to shine through, but it was such a pain in the ass. And people were like stealing pie dishes, never bringing them back. And then they would like bring them back like 6 months later or a year later, and then they'd want a refund for getting them, even though we charged them for the pie dish already. It was like a whole thing. So it wasn't really sustainable as my business was growing, but it was a really cool thing to do at the beginning when we were small. So then we changed to the disposable aluminum pie pans, and those are aluminum and they are good. They bake up nice. They'll bake up your butter pie crust really well. And so if you need to buy one of those, if you're doing a bake sale, if you're giving a pie to someone and you don't want to worry about getting your pie dish back, then that's when I would recommend doing a disposable aluminum pie pan. But they're just not as eco-friendly. So I hope that helps clarify some of the differences in pie pans, and I hope you guys will invest in whatever one is going to be best for you for pie baking season. Thanks so much for joining me in the kitchen to talk about pie pans. I will link all the ones that I showed you guys in the description below, and there's even more information in my blog post that I linked in the description as well. If you want more kitchen tips and knowledge, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join me next time in the kitchen. Happy baking!